I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of training on my limited knowledge of Zoom. So today's session is going to be fairly laid back. Since we have the 2 hours, we don't actually need to use the full 2 hours. We'll probably end it slightly shorter than that. Now, I'd just like to find out, Anka, are you busy recording this currently?
Yes, I started recording as you started your introduction. So the recording.
Perfect. Okay, now, so that's wonderful. So what we're going to do for the time being is I would like us to, okay, I'm sure that, hang on a second. Okay. Michael, you're the Zoom magician. Oh my goodness. Pressure. But the first thing I'd like us to discuss, and let's see if, Anka, can we kindly create some groups. But before we get into the groups, what I want you guys to discuss in your groups is a very simple question. Why Zoom? I mean, there are a lot of different programs out there that, can do video conferencing. Why do you think Zoom is the program of choice? And what I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to discuss that, and I want you guys to have a group leader who's then just going to give us some feedback concerning why Zoom has been chosen as the platform of choice. So if we can have 5 rooms, breakout rooms, that would be perfect. So what's going to happen?
Breakout rooms, and then shall I set them automatically?
Yes, you can set them up automatically. So what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, is that you're going to see a message inviting you to join the breakout room, which is going to be randomly created. Please make sure that you jump into that breakout room. And once we get to the end of our 5 minutes, there's going to be a little message that's going to pop up on your screen informing you that the breakout room is going to close in 60 seconds, and if you click on it, you'll then immediately jump out.
Okay, so I'm setting it up for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Why Zoom? That's the question that you guys are going to be discussing, and then we'll hear from you.
Okay, the breakout rooms have been opened. For those that have just joined the call, please follow your way to the breakout room. A message will pop up. I think it's just Elaine that's in the room with me right now. Elaine, you're going to breakout room number 2. A message should have popped up and you can just say yes. Great stuff.
When lockdown started, so I think people hopped onto it. It's user-friendly, it's easy to use, it's accessible. I think the fact that it allows you to have that 45 minutes free, I think made it accessible to quite a lot of people. That's my input.
Thank you for that input. Jan Lesero.
Good morning, everybody. It's Lesego here from the Santon Toastmasters club, that is. And I think Zoom
Welcome, Sibonelo. You are in the right place. The team have just split out into breakout rooms. So I'm going to add you to a breakout room, unless you've already been assigned one.
No, you can add me.
Cool. A message should pop up shortly, and then you can just say yes. I'm going to send you to breakout room 4. See if something's popped up and just join that room.
Must I press it now?
Yeah, if it's popped up on your screen, just say go to breakout room or whatever the option tells you.
Oh, it just went out. Join breakout room.
Here we go. Hi, Sim, can you hear me?
So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, welcome back. So let us hear from you guys. Why exactly is it that we are using Zoom? Why should we be using Zoom? There are a lot of programs out there. Why is it specifically that people are actually using Zoom? So, we have our, so Anka is our Zoom master. So what you can do is you can quickly put up your hand, whether you're on video, or you can also just go to reactions if you want. You can see that at the bottom of your screen. Clap, put a thumbs up, and okay, there we go. So we have a hand up. Noma Swazi. Robert. So this is just going to help Anka determine who's actually going to be giving feedback. And we're just going to, so Anka, in any random order, please go ahead and unmute the participants one by one as they give us their feedback.
Okay, I'll ask Nomaswazi to go first with their hand up. I'm going to unmute you and let's go ahead.
Thank you so much, Anke. My name is Nomaswazi. I'm part of CIS Toastmasters. I was part of the group with Jan and Lesego, and the discussion that we had on why Zoom was that it's accessible. It's one of the apps that was available as lockdown started. It's relatively free, so you've got 45 minutes that you can use, and it's free. It's easy to set up, and you can have over 100 participants that can be part of the meeting. So those were some of the things that we discussed. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you
Next
so
up,
much for that.
I think Robert had done a thumbs up, and then I can see after that Elaine. Robert.
Hi everyone. So I had Magugu and Mapeso in our group, as well as myself. And what we discussed were mainly on two things. We looked at the quality of the video, as well as the sound that we get from the app itself, as well as the functionality. You would take into consideration the fact that even when we were performing this simple exercise, we went into breakaway rooms, which is basically a simulation of what happens when we go for a networking break in the physical meetings. So I think the ability to
I think Robert's frozen up. If someone else can just confirm if it's for them as well.
Yep, it's frozen on my
He
side
is
as well.
frozen.
Okay, let's maybe go to Elaine. If Robert's connectivity gets back, we can just circle back to him. Elaine, please go ahead.
All right, I think to carry on what Robert had mentioned is the functionality, because you also mentioned that from a co-host perspective, you could not, on other platforms like Microsoft, there was no breakaway rooms like these. And also you could not make someone a co-host. So this one, the functionality is easier because people are able to then be able to not restricted in some of the functionalities. And the other thing is because it's reliable. Some said yes, some said no. I think some people experience the reliability and some haven't. But I think one common factor was that it was reliable. And I think a few others have been mentioned by our fellow Toastmasters. I think if I've omitted something, my team members can add on.
Great stuff. Next up is Charles. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Zoom Master. I was in room 4, and our point that we need to share with other members is that it is user-friendly, it's affordable, which has already been mentioned, accommodates more people, up to 100 people, easy to operate. It's also fairly internet-friendly in terms of not being affected by internet bandwidth. And the quality of video, as mentioned, also is fairly stable. And thank you.
Thanks so much, Charles. Is there anyone else who would like to put their hand up? If you just look on your screen for the more options, I see Ross has put his hand up. Ross, please go ahead. You're on mute. Let me just unmute you.
Yeah, okay, I'm on. Yes, much of what we said has been said already. I was with Mundia, Rob, and Cholo Fellow. One of the things was to perhaps ask somebody who felt interested in keeping an eye open on what is happening so that if something else comes, which is vastly superior, then we don't miss out on that. But everybody's using it, so let's go with the flow. Something which came up for me as I heard the other discussions going on was bombing. Now, the thing is this, that the criminal element goes for the most popular, as it does with PCs as opposed to Apple products. So we might keep an eye on that, because there have been in Toastmasters, there have been examples of bombing, which has happened through through the medium we're using at the moment. So these things are thoughts for the future, which we perhaps need to bear in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful contributions. Anyone else?
Just a tip, you'd like to look for your more options button, your reactions button, and then you should be able to raise a hand. Cool, looks like that's it for now. Mayambula.
Okay, so wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So a lot of the things that you guys have actually touched on are actually correct. You know, one of the major things that people love about Zoom is its relative ease of use. And what I would actually compliment the developers of Zoom for doing is the fact that they had the foresight to work things into their meetings, into their program, that they realize, you know what, these things are actually going to be brilliant, or they'll be very helpful for people when it actually comes to hosting and having online meetings. Now, the very first online meeting software that I came into contact with was Skype, as one of you guys mentioned. You also mentioned Skype, and initially Skype used to be the leader. However, Zoom came in, they've taken over. And one of the things that makes Zoom so powerful is the fact that it has 3 ways for you to use it. Either it's via the desktop app, or you can get the mobile app. However, the ability for you to attend a meeting directly from a web browser, in my opinion, that is the #1 reason why a lot of people went for Zoom. So meaning that if I didn't have the app, I don't know how to install it. I have a computer, I have restrictions on my machine, I can't install any software. You could still actually attend a Zoom meeting by viewing it through your web browser. The other thing that one of you guys also mentioned as well is the issue of the breakaway rooms. Believe it or not, the other programs don't really have the ability to enable you to create breakout rooms as easily as you can actually create them within a platform like Zoom. Now, with that being said, the one thing that a lot of people are actually unaware of is that even though we're using Zoom within the Toastmasters environment, if you have corporate clients, right? Maybe you're a professional speaker, maybe you're giving training, they will not allow you to use Zoom. This applies to all of you, to most of the banks, especially like, for example, like here in Namibia, none of the banks will allow you to use it, none of the insurance companies. So Zoom, as good as it is a platform that has not really been adopted by the major guys in industry. Meaning, therefore, that even though we're going to master these Zoom skills here for Toastmasters, from a practical point of view, what you're most likely going to be dealing with when you deal with your clients will be a program such as either Skype or you'll use Teams. Most of the businesses are actually using Microsoft Teams. Are there any questions thus far? If you have any questions, please make sure that you type them out within the chat box. So if you take a look at the bottom of your screen, you should see an icon that says chat. Click on that, and then you can actually then type in your questions if you don't want to actually speak. So thank you very much for giving us that information and that answer with regards to Zoom. The next thing that I want us to do, because I'm assuming that each and every one of us within this room are absolute beginners. And please note that even for myself as well, right? Even though I've been using Zoom for quite a bit of time, there are some features I have never actually used. So if there's something that you feel I have missed out, please don't feel afraid to say, no, Michael, there's actually a better way of doing this, and so on and so forth. I come from the African mindset that iron sharpens iron. So if you have a helpful nugget of information, please share it with the rest of us here within the group. So the first thing that I would like us to do is I want us to actually look at what the Zoom website looks like. So what I'm going to do is I am now going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you guys how you would actually go through the process of sharing your screen a bit later on. Remember, we're here together for about 2 or so hours. So,
excuse me, Mayumbula, just sorry, yes. before you carry on, I just want to ask if you would like me to monitor the chat and notify you if there's any questions or comments.
Please do, please do, please do. And please interrupt me.
Perfect. So I'll do so right now. So I just wanted to say, just to confirm, the administrator of the Zoom account has to enable allow to open in web browser in the settings.
That's correct.
That's just to keep in mind. It's not automatically allowed. And then Kinilwe has said, are we able to add participants through cell phone numbers like Teams? You want me to help answer there, or are you?
Yes, please go ahead.
So there is a way to set up a Zoom meeting so that people can phone in from a landline. So not with cell phones, but still telephonically. They could join via a cell phone theoretically, but only if the Zoom administrator has set it up that way that it's allowed to be audio from phones and from computer. Some Zoom administrators will change it to computer audio only.
That's correct. And in addition to that, the ability to use, the telephone feature isn't really one that many people actually use. However, what I've noticed is that when you get a lot of participants who come from overseas, the States and Europe in particular, based on their plans, they sometimes prefer to log in via audio. But I know that, for example, for us here in Namibia, it doesn't work out quite as well. It's actually preferable to use the data option. However, that is something that one has that you can actually use. So it's very good to actually know that. And then Anka, you mentioned something quite peculiar. You mentioned something about enabling a web browser. Would you mind giving us a bit more information on that, just so that the group can follow along? I'm sure there's some people that are wondering, what do you mean access the meeting via the web browser and admin and so on and so forth?
Sure. So I'm sure that you'll be going into some of the settings just now while we're here on the Zoom website.
Yes.
In those settings, you will find one of the lines that says allow to open in web browser, and it's a checkbox that you have to switch on if you want to have that option for your guests, where it says you can click here to open in browser instead of actually downloading the app if they haven't got it yet. So that's that one. There is another question on Zoom and Facebook live stream, and that's the answer to that is if you enable Facebook live stream in the settings, then it becomes available to you on your toolbar as a Zoom host. And then you can just, with the click of a button, share live on Facebook, and it takes you to your signed in Facebook account that you're on, and whatever page you might have access to stream that on, you can then choose.
100% correct. Thank you for those wonderful explanations. So let us now move along very quickly. I'd like to find out, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you have actually been to the Zoom website? How many of you have actually had the opportunity to go through it? Please indicate via a show of hands, if you will. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who have never seen this website before, the website address is zoom.us, ZOOM.us. Now, what I tend to find is that there are many people who will attend Zoom meetings without actually creating an account for themselves. And what I highly recommend is that you actually create an account for yourself. What we're going to do, you see, when you take a look at this window over here, you see sign up, it's free. it is literally for free, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to pay anything in order to be able to use Zoom. However, there are certain restrictions that are involved. Now, to see what the differences are between the different plans, I'm just going to click on plans and pricing over here. And let's take a look at the different Zoom plans that you actually have at your discretion. So the free plan, this is what most people are actually on. As was mentioned, you can host up to 100 participants. The major limit or restriction with this one comes from the fact that you are limited to 40 minutes per meeting. So what that means is, if you were trying to host a Toastmasters meeting from this free account, and your meeting is, let's say, 1.5 hours long, you would have to schedule 2 to 3 different meetings just to, to accomplish that one goal. So after 40 minutes, the one meeting would end, and then you would have to start up another meeting. And if you don't, and they've actually increased it, because back in the day, it wasn't 100 participants. You were actually only allowed to have a meeting with a maximum of, I think it was 3 to 4 people. But once COVID hit, they quickly bumped it up to 100 participants. The one that I recommend most of us go for, if you're willing to invest the money, whether it's for your club or for yourself personally, is to go for this one here, for the pro option, which will cost you basically $15 US per month. Now, the advantage of this one is that on top of being able to have your 100 participants, you're also going to be able to have a meeting that is 24 hours long. You get extra features such as user management, your admin feature controls, reporting, and so on and so forth. But the other useful feature here that I want to point out is this one right here. You get 1 gigabyte of data to actually store your information on the cloud, meaning that when you record your meetings, if you don't have enough space on your computer, you can actually save this on the cloud itself. Now, I believe that they have recently allowed even the free account to enable people to record meetings. However, that will strictly be on your computer. In the past, you weren't, even on the free account, you weren't allowed to record meetings. And as an administrator, you also have the ability to decide whether people can actually record your meetings. So what I want us to do now, for those of us that haven't signed up, because again, I'm assuming that we're total beginners, I want everyone, if we go to the Zoom website, let's just go to this space. When it says sign up, it's free. So if you haven't already signed up for an account, we're going to take a 10-minute break. What I want you to do is click on sign up, it's free. And then I want you to then go through the process of actually creating an account for yourself. So we're going to come back at, let's say, 11:10. And from there, once you've signed up for your account, we're then going to start looking at the actual settings that we have within Zoom. If you have, or yes, question?
There's a hand up from Magugu in the audience.
Yes.
Something pertaining to what we've just gone through, Magugu?
Oh, no, sorry, that must be a mistake.
Okay, I'll lower it for you.
Thank you.
So let's quickly create, your account. If you haven't already created an account, please sign up for one. And then we're going to go into the account settings before we proceed further. But since you guys are all Sergeant at Arms, you need to at least go for the free account. Don't worry about going for the paid ones for now. At least sign up for a free account. So with that being said, we'll see you guys in about 10 minutes at 11:10. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So I see there's a question here from Siwanelo, who's basically asking, does Zoom allow you to play any music on your background or whom you must indicate? So basically, he's asking whether you can actually play music from your computer in Zoom. Now, there is a sharing option in Zoom when you share your screen that will give you permission to share your system audio. There is, however, a word of caution that I would mention with this. If you're going to be recording your video, so say, for example, if Anka was recording that portion there where I was playing Shade, and you then later decide that maybe you want to put this video on Facebook, or you want to put it onto YouTube, YouTube and Facebook have an algorithm that actually listens or scans the audio within your video, especially YouTube. And if it picks up any copyrighted songs, then what it's going to do is it will ban your video from playing in certain countries or certain regions. So what I typically do, because I give, so one of the things that I do part-time is that I lecture at one of our universities on a part-time basis. And because of the whole COVID situation, some of the classes have actually been recorded. So what I do is when it gets to the break, just before we get to the break, I stop recording so that I can play music. And then just before I begin recording again, I stop the music and then I continue the recording. That way, when I post those videos to YouTube, they're not going to be blocked and they're not going to be restricted.
So what I'm going to do today is I'll just pop this video recording into a video editor and cut out those copyrighted music bits. But that's a great idea on the pausing.
Yes. And I'll also try and warn you in advance before I start playing music. So, let us, did anyone, sorry, did everyone manage to sign up with Zoom? Did anyone have any challenges? If so, please indicate in the chat box. Going once, going twice. Okay, so, Lesego, please share the video editor you use. Anka, I believe that's for you. In terms of,
so I've got on my computer operating system, I've got Windows 10, and it actually comes with an out-of-the-box app called Video Editor. So if you just go to your start menu and start typing video, you'll find the Video Editor app, and it's pretty user-friendly.
So if you'd like more information, Anka, I'm sure, would be willing to share her screen. So let us get back into the whole situation with regards to the Zoom account. So let me go back again to Google Chrome. So again, another thing to mention, guys, when it comes to using Zoom, if you want to use it via a web browser, the two web browsers that I highly recommend you use are either Google Chrome or Firefox. The reason being, these are what are known as 64-bit web browsers, which just basically means that they are powerful web browsers, if you will, and they will give you the fewest issues. So, for example, I'm an Apple user, and we have what's known as Safari for Apple. And if you want to try and attend a meeting online, there are just some features that you will find work better in either Google Chrome or Firefox in comparison to some of the other browsers out there. So what you're currently looking at right now is my browser in Chrome. So let me quickly sign in to my account. And let's go through some of these options that you're going to see. So I'm on the paid plan for for 15 US dollars, the $14.99. So when we get into Zoom, if you take a look on the left-hand side, these are the main tabs that are going to allow you to basically change the settings for your meetings, your personal profile, and so on and so forth. So each and every person has an account number. You can also add your own picture as well. Now, when I registered for my account, I used my private email address. If I had registered with Facebook or with Google, whatever profile picture you have coming from there is what's actually going to show up on your profile picture. If you wanted to change this profile picture, all you need to do is click on change. And then from here, you'll then upload a picture. However, please note, as you can see from this message over here, it says, please select a JPEG, a GIF or PNG file with a size smaller than 2 megabytes, okay? This is very, very, very important, guys. If your picture is too big, it's not going to work and you'll end up getting error messages. So, for example, in a picture like this now, with this particular example, this is the one that I uploaded. Now, you have this crop area that you see over here, and the area that is in dark gray is the part that will not show. The area that is in light gray is what's going to actually form your profile picture. And you can click and drag this to any position that you want it to be in. And you can also click on these handles. I recommend using the ones in the corners, and you can use them to resize your picture. And if you take a look on the right-hand side, that's actually going to give you an indication of what your final profile picture is going to look like. Once you're happy with what you have, you would click on Save. I'm going to click on Cancel since I already have my profile picture set up exactly the way that I want it to be. Sign-in email. Now, again, this is only typically applicable if you have signed in with your own private email. And here it will also show you your license type as well. Another important thing that I highly recommend that you guys do is where it says date and time, here for the time zone. If it does not say GMT +2 Harare Pretoria, for those of us who are in Africa, make sure that you go to edit. And from here, choose the appropriate time zone. Reason being, when you start setting up and creating meetings and you send out your email invitations, Zoom was clever enough such that when it adds the meeting invitation to a calendar, if someone is viewing this in Australia or in China, South America, or wherever, it is going to set the calendar event for them appropriately based on their time. And that time will need to be a reflection of what time you have basically set up over here. You can also set up your date format as well. So, yeah, are there any questions about this before I move on? This should be fairly straightforward, but I just want to make sure that I cover
There's just a general question. There's just a general question, but I think you're still getting to it. Someone just wants to know, to confirm if you'll be covering how to do attendee registration and how to do a poll during a meeting.
So say that again, if the poll and the?
Attendee registration. So the checkbox where you can make it compulsory to register. Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Yes, that I will definitely be covering. So let's take a look at our meetings tab. So I'll just click on that one right there. And please note, guys, that some of the settings that you're going to see on mine will not be available on the free accounts. So if we take a look at this meetings tab over here, here you see that I have quite a number of meetings that I have already scheduled. So these are now for my regular graphics design classes, the ones that I was basically speaking about. And take note of it. Can you see here it says no meeting, passcode, or waiting room, and it's giving me a warning sign. The reason why it's giving this to me is as follows. Zoom was, there were a lot of people who were complaining about Zoom because of it wasn't encrypted, meaning that it wasn't very secure. So one of the things that Zoom has done is, number one, all of the meetings are now encrypted. It wasn't the case initially in the beginning, which is why the banks and other big companies didn't want to use Zoom. So all Zoom meetings are encrypted, meaning that when you have a Zoom meeting, nobody can literally peep in and see what you're actually doing within your meeting. However, in order to add an extra layer of protection, because one of you guys mentioned we have Zoom bombing, and this is a situation where people come into your meetings, they start stirring up a ruckus. I've heard of situations where they've actually even played pornography in meetings. People start yelling, screaming, and doing all kinds of crazy things to try and disrupt your meetings. Yes, it is a thing, and it's happening here in Africa as well. So what you need to do, and this is what one of the things that Zoom is very particular about is that you need to enable a passcode for your meeting, or you need to have a waiting room. So what exactly is a waiting room? The best way of explaining it would be to look at what happens when you go and see the doctor or you go and see a dentist. Once you get to the doctor's consulting chambers, what you will find is that there is a little waiting area where you wait, and when the doctor is ready to see you, the secretary will call your name up, and then you go in to go and see the doctor. Zoom has a similar principle as well. No one is allowed into the main meeting without being expressly given, permission. So these waiting rooms are another added layer of security that you can actually use. Because sometimes, even though you give out a passcode, I can take that passcode and I can then forward it to one of my other friends who can then come in. Okay, so how would we go about scheduling a meeting? You are the Sergeant at Arms, maybe the Vice President of Education has said to you, listen here, we want to schedule our regular Toastmasters meetings. It's quite simple. All you do is click on Schedule New Meeting. And it's going to give you a topic. So I'll say, Seagulls Toastmasters, and I'll say Exco meeting. And then here, when we say description optional, I would say our monthly Exco meetings. And when do you want this to basically start? So you can click on the calendar, and then you can then pick a date. What time do you want the meeting to start at? Let's say 6 p.m. right there. And how long should the meeting be? I'll leave it at 1 hour. Again, time zone. Now, this is where things will now become a bit handy for you. Recurring meeting. If you don't want to keep on creating these meetings each and every single time, you can just click on recurring meeting, and it now gives you a few options. So how often will this meeting be taking place? Now, we've already mentioned that this is our monthly meeting, so I'll say monthly. So it should repeat once a month. Which day should it occur on? Now, here we have day, or we have first. Now, the importance of this is as follows. If you have your meetings, let's say on the last Tuesday of every month, what you would do is go for this option over there, and then select last, and then over here, you can then say the last Tuesday of the month. And it will automatically calculate when those meetings should be set up. And then when do you want these meetings to end? So for example, with my club Seagulls, we don't really have meetings in December. Everyone goes out on holiday. So I would then say that the end date for this would then be November. Oops, not 2021, sorry. Let's come back to 2020. So let's say November, okay? And I'll just put down the 30th of November there. A date after that last Thursday, because of the last Tuesday, because of what I have over there. Now, what some of you were now wondering about is the whole issue of registration. How do you get people to actually sign up for these meetings in advance? And why would you want people to register beforehand? So before I explain the process of registration, I just want us to have a quick discussion. Please put up your hand. Anka will unmute you. Why do you think it is important to force people to register for your meetings in some cases?
No hands going up. Oh, there we go, Sibonello.
We can't. Yeah,
Yes.
Sibonello.
get to them.
Because people, they are missing the meetings, at least maybe if they get reminders.
Yep, that's
Ross?
correct. Yes, Ross.
Security, I think you mentioned that earlier on.
To get what? Excuse me?
Security.
Oh, yes.
We mentioned bombing, which
Yeah.
seems to be happening quite a lot.
Just a quick instruction for how to put your hand up. On your computer screen, if you've got the menu bar at the bottom where it says mute and start video and such, there's a button for participants. When you click on that button for participants, it shows the list of participants of this meeting, including yourself. If you hover over it, there's then a button where you can click more and you can then raise your hand. That's how you do that.
And please take note, guys, what Anke has just described is something that you will also have to be doing within the meetings that you guys are going to be hosting. You must be able to let your meeting attendees know how to put their hands up. So thank you very much for those contributions.
There's one hand up, Nomaswazi.
Very good.
Yeah, I think besides what Ross has already said about security, it also just gives you as a club an indication of how many people to expect in terms of the attendance for the meeting as well.
And then Charles?
Well, it is related to what the last speaker has just mentioned. Sometimes you have a crowd delimitation. So you want to know, say, for example, if your system only allows 100 people, you don't want to have more than 100 people on the platform.
Anyone else?
Kinelwe?
I think also to introduce your visitors and your guests during the meeting.
Okay, so I guess that's the last contribution. You guys are all correct. One of the other major reasons that I just want to touch upon, and just to add on top of what you guys have said, is from a security point of view. When you force a person to register for the meeting, they need to enter in their email address, okay? Therefore, meaning that if this person is going to bomb your meeting and you report them as someone who has bombed your meeting, they will not be able to use that email address to log on to Zoom again. So it's another way of us also trying to catch out, on these perpetrators who basically like Zoom bombing. In addition to that, it'll also help you prepare for your meetings. So I just like to hear from Anke. There was something interesting that you mentioned. You mentioned that there was a certain number of people who registered for the meeting, and yet, how many people were we actually expecting? And just give us a bit of advice from your own personal experience on this before I add something to what you're going to say.
No problem. So I've run 2 of these training courses over the last week. So this is just anecdotal, very recent information, no balanced scientific trials. But we had the first meeting was the Pathways Guidance Training, and we had 120 people sign up for it. We ended up having an attendance of about 65 people. And then for this meeting today, we had 70 odd RSVPs. And as you can see, 24 people have shown up. So it's almost half of who registers ends up showing up, because people have very good intentions. I see good. Elaine has raised her hand.
Yes. But before we give the floor to Elaine, so Anke, what happens in a situation like this? Because now think about it, guys. Because people have registered and Anke is recording the meeting, how is she going to get it to the other people? Anke, over to you.
Sure thing. So on that registration, you're able to access the information behind the scenes of everybody's name, surname, email addresses, and whatever other questions they had to answer as part of the registration. I can then use that list of emails to send out a mass email in whatever program I use for that, to get you all the right links to the recording and any other useful resources. So even if you didn't attend the meeting, but you did register for it, you'll still be part of the kind of mailing list of that meeting. That's how I manage it anyway.
Perfect. And that's a suggestion that you guys should take, man. Thank you so much, Anka, for that.
Pleasure.
Oh,
Elaine?
hi. I don't think my question is still relevant, but I'll still ask it. It's probably a blonde one. So like earlier you mentioned that even if someone doesn't have Zoom downloaded on as an app, right? But they invite you to a meeting, because I'm just listening to the security part where you're saying if someone bombs your meeting because they come in with their email addresses, they can be blocked going forward, you know? But if someone is invited and they don't have the app uploaded, so are we assuming that security will be from having the passcodes or things like that? Is that an alternative way of making sure there's no bombing? Because I just want to connect it to that. If I don't have an email address, but I know there's a meeting taking place, if I've got an ID, I join in, I don't need to put in my email address, so how will I be blocked going forward?
Very good question. Brilliant question. So to answer your question, let me just quickly share my screen. Let's go back to Google Chrome. So over here, we are about to click on this registration required button over here. Now, if we take a look at these options that we have over here, right? First and foremost, there are three options because this is a reoccurring meeting. So you could choose either one of these now. Attendees register once and can attend any of the occurrences. So in this situation with this first option, someone will register, I have the link, I just have to register once, and every time that we have our EXCO meetings, all I do is I just go in and I just log in, no problem. Or option number two, attendees need to register for each occurrence to attend. So what this means that regardless of how many meetings we have, each time I need to make sure I have to actually register to attend that meeting. So, and then the third one here is attendees register once and can choose one or more occurrences to attend. That one should be fairly obvious now. To come back to your question, here is the way that it works. If you have a registration link that you use to set up your meeting, people who come and attend your meeting are not going to be able to access Zoom via the web browser. They will either have to use the desktop app or they will have to use their cell phones. And in order for you to use Zoom on your desktop or on your cell phone, you must have an account because you will need to essentially log in. So it's another way of tightening in security, because in many cases, the bombing happens because you don't have a place where people need to register. So all I have is I have the meeting passcode, which you can see here at the bottom, and maybe I even have a waiting room as well. So one of you will then take that passcode, the meeting ID, forward that thing to your friends, and your friends will be able to log in anonymously through their web browsers, and then they're going to bomb the meeting without being forced to use their actual accounts. If you say that registration is required, they will not be able to get into that meeting without actually registering their details. So that is another way of trying to keep these people that like bombing at bay. Now, what I would typically recommend for your Toastmasters meetings is that, okay, it's up to you to decide which of these three options you're going to use. However, always make sure that on top of having the passcode for Toastmasters meetings specifically, also make sure that you enable a waiting room. Now, there is a slight caveat that I would like to mention with regards to the waiting room. If you only have one Zoom master and you have, say, for example, 90 people who come and attend your meeting, can you imagine how crazy it's going to be trying to click, you know, to enable people to come into the meeting? It's going to be quite chaotic. Therefore, what's supposed to happen in general is the following. When you are a Zoom master, you as the Sergeant at Arms, you must never try and manage a meeting on your own, okay? Always make sure that there are two of you wherever possible. And why do you think I'm saying that we need to have two Zoom masters for each and every meeting? Please put up your hands, let's discuss it. Why do you think I'm recommending that there must be two Zoom masters for a meeting?
I think it's important to have some sort of teamwork, and life happens. So sometimes someone would need to take over. So I think sharing responsibilities reduces the workload or the load. So I think that actually helps. And life happens at times, so you can't really have one person doing everything.
Nomtandaza?
Thank you. To add on what the previous speaker has said, I believe it's important because, like, you know how it is with the network issues, the Zoom master might have a network issue and then they go offline. So if there are two, the other one can continue with the job. And also, sometimes you might miss something. So it's important that at least you share the workload so that the meeting will go swiftly without any disturbances if you are two.
Sibonelo?
I was also going to add up on that. It's for consistency N-1. If you know what I'm talking about, should anything happen, especially if you are a role player, maybe you as a SAA, you still introducing people and calling the meeting into order. There are people helping you to welcome other people to Zoom Master, like invite the rooms, inviting them in.
Cool. I think that's everyone who has their hands up.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Sorry, there's one more, Robert. Robert Lipenga. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mayumbula and everyone. I was just thinking also just practicalities during the course of the meeting. We might have people joining the meeting late. Also, you have a situation where a speaker has been spotlighted and then maybe a mic is on. You can imagine you've got over 90 attendees and you're trying to go through whose mic to mute. So I think it's a very good idea to have more than at least one Zoom master in every meeting. I submit. Thank you.
You guys are 100% correct. These are exactly the reasons why you must never be alone. And just to add on to the reasons that you guys have given, if you have, let's say, for example, 50, 60 people who are attending this Toastmasters meeting, right? And amongst those people within the meeting, you have people who are going to be giving speeches, you have your R counters, and so on and so forth, right? How are you going to know who exactly is supposed to do what? So when there are two of you, you can have one person who probably has the agenda, who can then actually start renaming some of the people. And what happens in Zoom is is as follows. If you rename yourself, and let's say, for example, you put like a hashtag in front of your name, it's actually going to move the list of those people to the top of the list. Therefore, if you have hashtag speaker1 and then your name, hashtag speaker2, and so on and so forth, you will be able to automatically group all of your role players in the participants window, making it easier for you to find people who need to perform certain roles. And then another thing again as well is also, you know, when there are technical issues that are taking place, as you guys have mentioned, when there are two of you, one person can keep the meeting running smoothly whilst the other one deals with other technical issues that might crop up. And another thing, since we're mentioning that you need to be at least 2 people who are the Zoom masters, you must be in constant contact with one another via WhatsApp. So what, for example, what you will notice, okay, what you guys are unaware of is that Anka has also been sending me messages on WhatsApp on my phone. So if there's something that maybe is going wrong, I will be able to privately see what the issue is on my phone and then quickly deal with it without people knowing that there are actually things that are running a bit haywire or challenging in the background. Are there any questions before I go back to sharing my screen again? Okay, very good. So let's move along. So I'm moving slowly because I really want us to go through this, carefully. And then the last bit will be relatively quick. Now, the reason why I need to go slowly through this is because it's been recorded, number one, and this is actually where most of our challenges actually come from. Once the Zoom meeting has started, it's not really that complicated to click on this button or that button to share your screen and so on and so forth. But the settings are what usually cause the most headaches. So here when we say video, and we're going to come and take a look at these later, because here you see registration, and what you're probably asking yourself is, okay, but where is the window where I can actually enter what fields I need people to be putting in when they register? Once we create the meeting, we will have the ability to edit that. So don't worry. Initially, when you set it up, just make sure that you say registration is required, have your passcode, have your waiting room. Oh yes, one other thing that I need to mention as well. As Toastmasters International, guys, there is a limit and a restriction on the age of people who are allowed to actually sign up as members. So for Zoom, one of the instructions that came to me from above is that you are not allowed to have people attending your Zoom meeting who are under the age of 18. Okay, please take note of that, guys. No under 18s are allowed to attend the actual Zoom meetings. If they're sitting in the meeting with their parents, that's something else, but no unattended meeting access for people who are under the age of 18. And when people register for their Zoom accounts, you need to put in your date of birth and so on and so forth. So you will be able to look at some of that registration information as well to try and help you determine whom to let in or not, if you don't trust looking at their faces. Next thing that we're going to look at here is video. So host, this is for you. Do you want your video to be on? Do you want it to be off? And then the same for your participants as well. Let's quickly discuss. What do you guys recommend, all right, when it comes to having online meetings? Should people enter the meetings with their video on or off? And what are the situations in which you would say, yes, video should be on or video should be off? Let's quickly discuss.
Russ. Oh, let me just unmute you. There we go.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I've got very strong feelings here because I'm on a wide spectrum of audiences when I'm using Zoom. Some of the children, I'm glad you mentioned it, must be supervised by their parents because we have 2-year-olds up to 12-year-olds. I made a note of that. The other thing is I like to see reactions when I'm presenting, and I can see there are just 2 of us here. Anka, who said I must just get a hairbrush before I come on, and myself. And I really would like to see people because sometimes oh, there we are, there's another one, Karen's come on. And it would be nice to see people because you want to see some sort of reaction. So that's my answer to your query. Thank you.
I also have an opinion, if it matters. I think that the default setting should be set to videos being off when you're busy joining the call, so as not to catch people off guard, and that it can then be communicated, come on guys, put on your videos, because it's just, it's optional while you're in the meeting to put your video on and switch it off. So that setting is not going to restrict them to having to have it on or having to have it off. they can still choose. But I think by default it should be off, because I know I can be caught off guard if I'm on camera and I thought I was only going to be on audio, which is usually everyone else's default as well.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Any other hands? Robert.
Hi, so I very much agree with Anka on that one as well. And then I guess additionally, it's also a challenge with network and bandwidth. I think usually if most people's videos are on, the network just gets disrupted, and then there's also disruptions in the meeting. So it's always better that videos are off and only turned on, I guess, when people are talking.
Elaine?
Okay, I think Robert took my words in terms of, yeah, because based on experience as well, it creates a lag. But I think it depends on the type of meetings. You know, sometimes if it's friends, it's important to always see those facial expressions, you know, connectivity, you know. And if you're meeting people for the very first time, it's always, I think, like you say, give them time to just, you know, prep themselves and then switch on, see everybody and say, okay, you know, putting a face to the name, or, you know, vice versa. So I think from a connectivity point of view, I think it's important. And then the rest of it, I think it's when you have videos off, it's also for control, because sometimes some of us have kids at home and then the child will become, Mama, I want this and that, you know, so it can be distractive to other people. So I think controlling that, obviously from the onset, making sure everybody's like, try to catch up, spruce up, you know, ladies, they just want to look good, and then, you know, continue the meeting. But I think the types of meeting also will make you, obviously based on the type of meeting, you can decide whether you want to keep it on for the whole time, you know. And then, yeah, so it depends on the type of meeting. If it's professional, obviously, and you need to see people's expressions, because I think your eyes or your expressions say a lot of words, more than what people can actually say. So, yeah.
We've got a rule of thumb at our office for our Teams meetings that if the group is 5 or less people, then it's etiquette to switch your video on. If there's more than that, then it's optional. So, yeah. Anyone else? Karen, yes. You can physically just raise your hand, seeing as though you have your video on.
Good morning, everybody. It's actually a very valid question. We had yesterday at work a speaker that was addressing colleagues, or all the women for Women's Day. And actually nobody has gone onto video. And we debated it afterwards and said, you know, it's very difficult for a speaker to just look at a computer and not actually see anybody's reaction at the back, or, for instance, a hand, or whatever the case might be. And yes, everybody else's comments is also very valid in terms of noise in the background and so forth and so on. But maybe when the meeting starts, the presenter can perhaps ask for a minute of video, so that one can actually just virtually look everybody in the eye, say a good morning, give a thumbs up or a cup of coffee, and then from there on to mute and go off video until such time that you would like to say something or participate. That's my 2 cents.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other hands.
Okay, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for those contributions, and your points are indeed valid. At the end of the day, it's your rules, so, you know, it's your meeting. You guys can decide how you want to run it. However, as was mentioned, if you know that bandwidth is going to be an issue, do not even attempt putting everybody's videos on at the same time, because especially for you as the host, if your internet is not fast and everyone's videos are on, your internet connection is going to cut off. So here's another interesting thing to note. Once a Zoom meeting has been created, say for example, your internet cuts off, what do you think happens? Does the meeting suddenly end? What happens? Let's see if anyone knows the answer to this one.
If you are a host, The meeting
yes,
ends.
you're the host of the meeting. And your network, your internet cuts off. What do you think happens to the meeting?
Sibonelo?
Because you are the host and you are leaving the meeting due to network problems, it will maybe say the host has ended the meeting. I don't know if that's correct, but I think it will do that.
Anyone else?
Priya says in the chat, meeting continues.
That's correct. Priya is 100% correct.
Elaine?
The meeting, yes.
Well, I was going to be wrong because I was just taking it literally that if you have a party and the host is gone, I mean, the party's over. So clearly I was wrong.
Nomaswazi?
I think if the meeting has already started and the host has connectivity issues and leaves, Zoom automatically reassigns someone else to be the host of the meeting. And it seems to be a random assignment. So somebody just then becomes the host and the meeting then continues.
Yep. Anyone else?
I just have to step away for a moment. I'll be right back.
No problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, the answer to your question is that the meeting does not stop. You see, Zoom is actually aware of the fact that there are situations where something will happen, you know, your internet will cut out, and while you're trying to reconnect, the meeting will actually continue. The only way in which you can actually cancel, if you will, or leave the meeting is would be to actually end the meeting, okay? So this raises a very important point. Whenever I have meetings, I have my 4G internet here at home that we use for the house, but I also make sure that I have a secondary form of internet, which is the one that I use on my mobile phone, so that if a meeting cuts out because my internet at home is not working, I can then hotspot, you know, my computer using my phone. If you actually wanted to leave the meeting, let me just see if I can just quickly show this to you guys very quickly. So I'm not sure if you can, so let's take a look here. Yes, there we go. So we take a look at this screen over. I'm using my cell phone right here. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a button that says leave, right? Okay. So what I would then do here is, and I'm showing you the screen because Anka has given me a few rights over there, but she has ultimate rights. Okay, now you're seeing an infinite loop of videos over there. But then let's focus on what I wanted to show you right here. So, oh, it's like it's disappeared. So when we take a look at this button right here, this one here that says leave, when you click on this, okay, just click on that one there, and it says leave meeting. This is the way that you would exit the meeting. And if you're the host and you don't assign anyone else to be the host, it will then randomly pick someone, if I'm not mistaken. So ultimately, because there are going to be two of you, as we have agreed, if you get cut off, your partner in crime will be able to continue the meeting with you. So let us now proceed. So we've already spoken about the breakout room. So now over here, these options over here are essentially up to you. Now over here, if you know that you guys are really having a very big problem with people who like bombing your meetings, you can click on that and say, only authenticated users can join. What this is going to force anyone who wants to attend your meeting to do is that they will have to sign up for an actual account. The only challenge with this, however, is that if you have guests who just randomly want to come to your meeting, or you send out an invitation and you want people to come and attend the meeting, if they don't have accounts, they won't be able to to join if they are not authenticated, even though they have an account. So what an authenticated user is as follows. You create an account for yourself on Zoom, but then you still need to prove by clicking on a link that account actually belongs to you. So it's not just you logging in and having in a free account. You are an actual authenticated user. You click on a link that says, yes, this is definitely my account. And here we have a breakout room pre-assigned. So what this will basically do is, if you know that you have 20 people who are going to be attending the meeting, and you know exactly who's going to attend the meeting, by clicking on Breakout Room Pre-Assign, you can already decide how you want people to be grouped. Generally speaking, when we create breakout rooms, we do those randomly. And here, again, you have the option to record the meeting manually. Now, I just quickly want to hear from you guys. For those of you who are logged in, on the free account, do you see the ability to record the meeting? Can someone please just verify for us, please?
Yes, there is record the meeting automatically on the local computer.
Okay, perfect. So if you have the paid account, you can also record these in the cloud. So now that we've gone through this option over here, and I apologize for going slowly, but I really wanted to make sure that we were very clear how to do this. I'll now click on Save. And what do we see? The next window that shows up is now basically giving us the details about our meetings. It's giving us the time. And these options over here are things that you can use to create a reminder for yourself on your computer. And here you see what says registration link. This is what you're going to share with the people with whom you are actually going to whom you want to register for your meeting. You simply click on copy invitation, and what's going to happen is that it's going to bring up this window, and this is going to copy this invitation to your clipboard, which you can then copy and then paste into an email. But we still have a challenge. What are we going to do about registration? How exactly do we go about doing it? Now, if you see at the bottom, we have this thing which says registration, email settings, branding. There is your poll over there, and there is your live streaming as well. So we'll come to registration, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say edit. So when we come to edit for our registration, this is where you can now decide what things you want to show up within your registration link. So how should the approval be? Should it be manual? Sorry, should it be automatic? You see, registrants will automatically receive information on how to join the meeting. The second one is manual. The difference between the two is as follows. If you have a registration link, anyone can click on it, they can register, they will get an email, and that email will contain a link that they can then use. When the meeting occurs, they click on that link, they can automatically jump into the meeting. However, if you say manually approved, even though these people have registered, they will not be able to attend the meeting without you approving them manually on your end as the administrator. Okay? And please note that these registration details, you'll only be able to see this if you're on a paid account. I don't believe that this is available on the free account. Can someone please just verify that for me, please? You guys want the free account? Did you see it?
That is correct.
Yes?
I created a free account for purposes of the training, and it is not available. You cannot do pre-registration or free account.
Okay, thank you very much for having confirmed that. So there you guys have heard it. So as a club, you guys will definitely have to sign up for a paid account in order to protect your meetings. Now over here, notification. Do you want to receive an email each time somebody registers? This is something that is entirely up to you. You can actually decide whether you want that to be available. And let's take a look at other options. Allow attendees to join from multiple devices. So with Zoom, you can actually attend a meeting from your computer, from your tablet, or even from your phone. Right now, if you take a look at these meeting attendees, you will see that my name appears twice because the first one is on my computer, the second one is on my cell phone, which I used when I wanted to show you that leave button over there. And then show social share buttons on registration page. This is also something that is debatable concerning whether or not you want this to be available, because by opening it up to social media, you're also potentially opening up yourself to people who are going to bomb your meeting. However, if you're just going to have a meeting where people will not be able to enable their microphones or their video, then that's something else. Maybe you're doing a promotion for Toastmasters. Let's move on to the questions tab. Any questions that you want people to fill in, all you need to do is just put a tick in. Where do they come from? Country, region, you know. You can put whichever of these ticks wherever you want these buttons to show up on the registration form. Now, you guys have also noticed that for club officer training and so on and so forth, you'll have questions like, what club do you belong to? And to put those kind of questions or drop down list, you need to come to custom questions. So now you can have your custom question over here, and you can decide whether or not you want this to be a required, you know, question. Should it be single answer as well? So you can play around with these. I'm not going to go too much in depth with this because there are quite a number of things you can actually do with this. And I'll just say cancel to that for now. Let's come to email settings. So this is another one again over here now. Because you might have the paid account, you might not want to receive emails from 50, 60, 70 people each time people are registering for your event. So what you can do is you can actually go to edit and you can change, you can put down your club's email address so that those emails just go to that address, leaving your account free. Then over here, confirmation email to registrants, you know, upon registration, do you yourself want to see, okay, what that email would look like? Maybe, you know, there's some things that you want to make sure of in advance. If you want to see what your people are going to receive when they register, you can click on this, send me a preview email. Now, why is this important? It's important because when we come to the next section, which is branding, you might want to put your Toastmasters banner there, the name of your club. You might want to put your logo, and you want to make sure that things appear in the correct places, and so on and so forth. There was a question about having a poll, okay? Clicking on the poll button, this is where you'd edit. So you click on poll, you can click on add, and then you can have your different questions. However, again, please note that this is only going to be applicable if you have a paid account. And you can either have single choice or you can even have multiple choice questions. It's entirely up to you, okay? And you can add more than one question. So the first question, how old are you? Okay, and then you could even add an extra, oops, sorry. I'm supposed to put in some answers. So over here, you can even have your different age groups as well if you wanted to, with regards to this, how old are you. But over here, you can continue adding more questions. So right now I have 2. And also, do you want people to be able to send this information anonymously? And this is important because maybe if you are going to have a meeting for the company, and there's certain things that you guys are going to decide upon, for example, with regards to lunch or food, right? And you want to have a poll concerning what should we eat at our annual gala dinner. By making sure that you don't have this anonymous button ticked, if somebody has a specific dietary choice, you would know exactly whom you need to contact for more information regarding their choice. If it's anonymous, it's just going to be random. You won't really know whom the responses basically came from. And then over here, you know, after launching the meeting, click more. So this will enable you to then have live streaming as well for your meeting. Okay, so so this is where I will stop with this. Are there any questions so far? We're almost done with the boring section. Sorry for having to drag on like this, guys. Are there any questions that I need to address with what we're seeing right here?
Nomthandazo?
Thank you. You mentioned it, but I didn't get it quite clearly. Like, how do I share the meeting on an email to the participants, or on Facebook or WhatsApp? I think you mentioned it, but I didn't get it clearly.
Okay, very good. So this is what you would do. Let's actually do an actual example with regards to email. So what I would do is, in the settings here now for this particular meeting, I will click on copy invitation. Okay, so there it is, and okay, you can see what it's basically saying. Okay, no problem. And here I'll say copy meeting invitation, and you see what it's done. It's highlighted it, and there's a message on top saying copied to clipboard. So now let me go to my emails. Okay, I'm going to share this with you right now. So now that I get to my email, let me just quickly share the screen. Yeah. So now when I get to my email, what I will now do here is I'm just going to say Control and V to paste it. And there is the meeting invitation typed in over there. And so over here, I could now change this message. You're invited to a Zoom meeting. Say, no. Let me say to an EXCO Zoom meeting. But this is the actual link that they are actually going to use. So when this email is sent to them, all they need to do is they just need to click on that link, and then they will then be able to open it up. Now, what would you do if you wanted to post this to Facebook? Let me just quickly go to my Facebook account, make sure that I'm logged in here. And I'll demonstrate how to do this on Facebook. Let me just resize this for you. Okay, so let me quickly share Facebook. So this is Facebook, right? And that invitation is still copied. So what I could now do is, we're here where it says, what's on your mind? You know, when you want to create a post, simply click in there, and I will say Control and V to paste. And there are the details there for that meeting. And if you like, what you could also do is you can then still add photos as well to it. You can even add check-ins, you know. You can even have add video as well if you wanted, just to promote this event. And once you are done, you would then click on post. This would then go on your wall, and when people go to your Facebook page, when they click on this link right here, it will then take them to the registration page. I hope I answered the question.
You did, thank you very much. So I can assume that you do the same thing on WhatsApp, right? You just copy it and then go and copy and paste it on the WhatsApp group or to someone whom you
100% correct. That's correct, yes.
Thank you so much.
Namaswazi has a hand up.
Yes.
A similar question with regards to the poll, then Michael, how does one launch that during the meeting session?
That is a very good question. To be quite honest, I've never actually even used polls during meetings. So if Anka knows the answer to that one, she can answer. Otherwise, during our short break, I'll quickly figure it out, and then I'll come back and give you the answer.
So here's what I'll do is I'll set up a poll for us to see how this training went, and then we can run it just now and use that as a show and tell.
So let me stop sharing my screen. Would you like to share yours, or?
No, because you're not going to be able to see what's on my screen because I'm sharing. Yeah, so when you actually are busy sharing your screen, people don't see exactly what you're seeing on your screen because you need to see a whole
That's
lot more
correct.
things. Yeah. So what happens, let me just explain to you conceptually, when you have set up a poll on the website there, and you've already set up all the questions, while you're in a meeting, if you are the host of that meeting, then you will see a button next to participants that says polls. And then when you click on that, it'll open up the available poll. And as the host, you'll be able to start the poll, stop the poll, and share the results of the poll if you wish to do so, and then just close it when you're done with it. So that's how you access it once it's set up. It's easy as a button.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Yes, sorry, I've got one last question. On the issue of breakaway rooms, I saw when we were attending one of the trainings, there were many breakaway rooms. So it's possible to, how do you do as many breakaway rooms as you want?
Okay. So currently with the restrictions that I have on this account, I'm not able to show you how the breakaway rooms would work, but let me just quickly share my camera. And
I've got an idea there, if I may interrupt you. I've actually got I've got a document that's got screenshots of how you set up a breakout room, as well as all of the steps involved. When I share the recording of this meeting, I'll share that same document so that you get all of those steps to set up a breakout room, because it's difficult to show it live because you can't actually see what's on my screen. Michael would literally have to take his cell phone and film his computer screen, which as you saw, isn't an ideal way. So screenshots really is the best way to do it, and then you follow those. So I'll include those with the recording.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Any other questions?
No hands?
Okay, so very good. So another thing, let's just see if, I don't know if it's going to work, because one of the questions that people had was concerning the whiteboard. Let's see if, okay, so I'm sharing this from my cell phone over here. So you see here where we have the share screen button right there. When I click on share screen, we have this window that shows up like this over here. Now, there are several options that you have available.
Mike, there is nothing I can see other than your name on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Anka will enable. Hang on a second.
I tried to spotlight the video earlier, but that created the infinite loop. Should I just see if that works?
Okay.
Let's see what happens if I spotlight your video. There we go. It's looking good. Are you able to see the video now?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So at least technology is behaving. So this is what you see when you click on share screen. Now, there are several options that you have at your disposal. We have the whiteboard, and if you are an iPhone or an iPad user, you also have the ability to also share what you will see on your iPad or on your iPhone as well. Now, these windows that you're seeing here at the bottom, these are the current windows that are open on my computer. Oh, okay, someone is saying they're not seeing anything.
Okay, Nomtandazo, are you watching on a cell phone?
Yes.
Try to swipe left or swipe right on your screen to see if you can see more of the images.
I can only see the small screen on my bottom right, but I'm not seeing like.
Can you click on that small screen on the bottom right and see if it makes it bigger?
Okay, thank you. I can see it now.
Yay.
Thank you. So these two options over here, you're only going to be able to use if you have an Apple iPhone or the iPad. Now, and the first one is to connect via Airplay, which basically means like, connecting via, your Bluetooth connection. And then but the one that's most reliable is this one here where you would use the cable. So if I click on whiteboard and then I click on share, let me just quickly stop this now here. Switch or stop video. Okay, there we go. So right here we have a whiteboard. And can everyone see my whiteboard?
Yes. Yes.
I can.
Okay.
I can. Yeah.
Yes,
Very good. So in fact, hang on a second. There are some controls that I need to show you here on top. Let's hope we don't get an infinite loop. So if you take a look right there, you can see that on the whiteboard, there are these controls that we have here on top. Can you all see them? So these are options that only you will see as the host, the person who's basically enabled the whiteboard. What everyone else is going to see is just going to be this white section over there.
So I can't actually see your tools. I think maybe for everyone who's using it, now it's on the other screen. Let me just.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, see, it's going to be difficult for people on phones to navigate between these two whiteboard and the other screen now. But there's view options. If you're on a computer, there's a button at the top there's a bar at the top that says you are viewing Mayumbula Michael's screen, and it says view options. And on the view options, there's an annotate option. If you click on that, it brings up a little toolbar for you where you've got text, draw, you can put arrows, it's got an eraser. So just see if you can bring up your annotate toolbar.
I've got that, so it's working. Thanks, Anka.
Wonderful. So let me just stop that video there. And with this whiteboard, thank you very much, Anka, for that piece of advice there. So with this, you can now start, drawing and so on and so forth. But you're going to basically be using your mouse. If you were using a tablet, you could actually then get a stylus and then actually write. The advantage of this is that there's actually a setting that will also enable your participants to also take part in annotating and adding their own thoughts and feedback as well to this whiteboard as well. And during screen recordings, this will also be recorded as well. There's also, there we go. Anyone else want to try something? There we go. So you can think of all the different things that you guys can actually do with this feature. It's very handy. You can also type as well, right? So you guys can have a bit of fun with this.
There's a stamp.
There we go. And these are all things that you guys are going to play around with later on. So this is just something that's nice, for when you're giving training to be able to play around with. Are there any questions before we move along?
No hands at the moment.
Okay. So I'm quickly going to stop sharing this whiteboard.
There was a question in the chat, which was, how does one change background color like the Time Master or the Timekeeper does?
The background color. That is a very good question. Of that, I'm not actually aware of what most people are doing, because what I do for our club is I basically have my phone on as the second screen, so to put it. And then I usually have my iPad in front with the timer. Now, I haven't really figured out a way to change. Oh, no. Sorry. There is a way.
I can help.
Yes,
can
it's
also
actually
help.
come to me. Yes, please do this. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to describe what you need to do if you're looking at your computer screen. You know where you switch your video on and off, right next to the mute button. So it's where it's got a picture of a little video camera. There's a little
Let me
button.
quickly share my screen, just so I can show you. Then you can navigate from
Cool,
there.
cool.
There
So
we
that
go.
button
So let me
there
just
has,
quickly go back up it.
yeah. So you click on the little up arrow there, and it gives you some settings, and you can say choose virtual background.
There we
When
go.
you do that, then it pops up the screen, and there you can choose one, or the plus sign on the top right, you can actually go and add one. And the Toastmasters colors with the Toastmasters logo is available to download from the website. So you could just save it to your computer and then come in here, add an image. If you click on add image, then you just look for the file on your computer and choose whatever the image file that you saved. You can even customize your own one.
Thank
So
you. So let's go
change
through the
mine to I'll change mine to green because we're at 9 minutes left.
Perfect. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, are there any other particular questions that you guys have that you would like to ask concerning Zoom? We have a wealth of skilled people within the room. If I'm not able to answer the question, they are okay. Nomtadanzo, I think your hand is up.
Yes, I've got questions. You have to forgive me. I'm still new, so maybe they might be silly to others. I always see, how do you take a group photo? Like, I always see that they say, we are now taking a group photo. How do you go about it?
So let's do that. So I can explain that one to you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so it depends if you're on a cell phone or if you're on a computer. What is the case for you again, Nomtandazo? Cell phone.
I use my phone, so it's
okay. So you'll be a little bit more limited with the phone with how many people you can fit on one screen. But for example, you should be able to see maybe me, Rob, and Ross, because you can usually see 3 people on a screen. And if you wanted to take a photo of us, then you would just do what you need to do on your phone to take a normal screenshot. So when you're actually on a computer, you've got a button on the keyboard that says print screen or PRTSCR. It's usually near the top right. And then when you press on print screen, it copies everything that's on your screen at that moment. You can go into a program like Paint and then you click on paste and it pastes the photo that you copied off the screen. I don't know if that's too complicated to have explained like that, if you get my drift.
Yeah, I think I'll have to try it with my laptop next time. But thank you very much. Then the other question that I had, like, how do I pin a timer during a Zoom meeting? I always hear someone say you should pin a timer. How do you do that?
Okay. Very good question. So let me quickly show you how you would actually pin someone to the screen. Let's hope we don't get the infinite screen of the source. Right? Okay. So what you would do is when you hover your mouse, right, over one of the participants, in this case, Anka, you see the next to the button that says mute here, we have these 3 dots over there. So I'd click on those dots there, and then you would simply click on pin video. Now, there's a difference between saying pin video and spotlight video. When you pin a video, it means that regardless of how the participants are arranged on your screen, this particular person will always be visible, for example, within this strip. That's how your timer will always be available. Now, spotlight video, however, is a different option where you want that person's screen or window to basically take up the entire screen. So for example, when someone is giving feedback and you want them to be seen on everyone's screen and to take up the whole screen, you would then click on Spotlight Video. But if you pin a video, it doesn't spotlight it. It just basically means that amongst your contacts whom you are seeing, you will be able to see everyone. And you can also achieve the same thing by coming to your participants tab, if you will. If you don't see those participants, what you would need to do then is the following. Oops, sorry. Let's just quickly do this. When you get to Zoom over here, so let's say, for example, for most people, they wouldn't see this window over here. Let me just quickly close it. I'll say close. Just close the chats as well. So this is what some people would normally see. Just have this window like this. Whoops, infinite screen. So what you would do is you would come to participants, right there. You click on participants, and then the window is going to open up on the side. And this is where you can now come back here. You hover over the name. You can go to more, and you can spotlight the video over there. And if you wanted to rename people as well, on Anka's screen, apart from these options over here, right? If let's say we came over here, because she's also a Zoom master, she will also have this ability to rename someone as well. And this is where you would also ask people to start their videos if everyone's videos are essentially off. And if you have a person who is misbehaving in the meeting, this is what you can do. You can also just send them to the waiting room. And in that waiting room, you can still send them messages and so on and so forth. Or if the person is really misbehaving, you can just remove them, or you can also click on report, and this is where it's going to send a message to Zoom warning them about this particular person who is misbehaving in your meetings. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Then my last two questions, please forgive me. You've been constantly saying as an administrator you do this, as an administrator you do this. You mean as the host? Or you can be the administrator but not the host?
Sorry, thank you for that clarification. They're actually the same thing. I come from an IT background, so I tend to use them interchangeably. But the correct name is host, or Zoom master, as we're trying to call it.
Also, for interest's sake, if it's my account and I'm logged in and I'm the host by default, I can actually pass the hosting rights on to any other participant in that meeting. As long as I'm the host, I can make someone else the host. And then they don't get to log into my account and stuff, but they have access then to the polls, to the breakaway rooms, and to be able to mute people and remove people, even if they're not using my account technically. Ross has a question. Sorry.
Yes, I'm not sure if we'll be able to cover it, but I just thought maybe it's a good thing to start it, and maybe another meeting. But I've been trying to use a lot of video in the work I'm doing on Zoom, and I find it very difficult. It's very clunky to be able to go share screen. Now I'm doing this instead of to just press the button, the relevant button, and to be able to go straight into my video. Is there some way one can do that?
I'll answer that if you like, Michael.
No, please go ahead.
So the options that come up when you click on share screen are always going to come up. There's no way to bypass that. The best you can do is just already know what you're going to be choosing, and seeing as though you're sharing video and obviously sound, you would tick the box for share computer sound and for optimized screen sharing for video clip before you finally click on share. But there's no way to shortcut that little bit of settings that you have to specify every time.
Okie doke. All right, thanks, Tom.
Sorry, Nomtandazo, I think you still had another question. My apologies.
Okay, no, it's fine. I just posted it on the chat group, but I I was saying, I just saw this post from our president. What is your Facebook page so that I can see more posts from your club, or is it for your division?
Sure, it's the Division L Facebook page. I'll quickly get the name of it and I'll paste it into the chat.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just on that issue of computer sound, I just quickly want to show you guys where you would see that option. So when you click on share screen, right there in the bottom, share computer sound. And here, optimize screen share for video clips. So if you want to share video, it's very important that you tick on those two there. Okay, so with that being said, we have reached so I've actually gone slightly over time. I'd like to excuse anyone who needs to go places if there are things that you need to do.
Can I run a quick poll?
Yes, you may.
All right, cool. Just for everyone.
And I'm still available. Yeah, so I'll still hang on behind for another 15 or so minutes to show you guys a few extra things if you like. So whilst Anka is busy running her quick poll, there we go. I can't answer this poll myself because that would be a bit of corruption there.
Actually, when you're the host, you can't answer your own poll. So I'm also hands tied.
Michael, a little bit of corruption is acceptable in Africa.
Oy vey.
Why are you trying to be cleaner than thou?
Can't I at least pretend? Yes.
Yes, Ross.
Just wanted to say while we're doing the poll, it is rather a yes or no, but I would like to have a little bit more information on practical presentation using Zoom. We've been doing a lot of work on receiving people and so on, and it's very important to get that as a host. But as a presenter, it would be good to have a workshop around that, and maybe even our own work that we've done and disasters that we've jumped into.
Yes,
you know,
perhaps
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Zoom presentation skills, something along those lines.
Yes.
Thanks,
triumphs and disasters, because I'd like to hear of other people, and I'll certainly share disasters I've had that other people can avoid, maybe.
Cool. I see Kenilwe's got her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Anke. With regard to changing the background colors as a timekeeper, do I need to have the host rights, or
no, you don't?
Is it because the other time I was helping, I think it's Charles, with their meeting, and I tried everything in this world. I couldn't get it right. I ended up using the clicking the glass and
so do you want to test it now? If you put your camera on, so put your camera on.
Okay.
You're on your computer, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so right now you've got a virtual background. It's blue.
Yes, yes, yes.
So to change it to a different color, you would need to go hover over where your mute button is. Next to that is your stop video button.
Yes.
And there's an up arrow. Then click on choose virtual background. Then it pops up a screen with a whole lot of different images for you to choose from, or there's a little plus button to add an image. So for example, I've already added the yellow and the red and the blue screens. What I'll do on my links with the recording and everything, I'll include the links to where you can download these backgrounds so that you can upload them yourself. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
And also, I just wanted to make a very quick comment. So, the question of how to do presentations using Zoom, what you're seeing right now, this is a platform that I can actually give you guys a bit of training on. This is something that is called Prezi Video. So with it, within the Zoom meeting, you can see that my content and I are together within the same video. And as I click on this, I can go through different slides. So this is basically the presentation that I delivered in my club officer training. So these are the kind of things that we can also take a look at as well. Yeah.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, we're going to put something together, Michael. I definitely think so.
Pleasure.
Okay, I'll end the polling and share the results with you all. Seemed like most were indeed satisfied with the training and all of the areas expected were covered.
Thank you, Candy, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any more questions or things that we can cover?
There's one question, what is an infinite loop? And the best way I can explain that is, do you know when you're standing in an elevator, like a lift, and there's mirrors on both sides, and you look into the one mirror and you see yourself in the other mirror, but then in the other mirror you see yourself in the other mirror, and you keep going into infinity? It's that kind of thing. So it's just an image within an image within an image within an image.
Shall we demonstrate?
Can if you want.
So we take,
Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to spotlight this video.
Yes. So you see what's happening there? Video within a video within a video, and it just keeps carrying on. That is an infinite loop, and it's not going to stop.
Magic.
Until I stop it there.
It's a rather mind-boggling concept for human beings, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Can I just ask something?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
just wanted to ask something, if I can, about that background. My computer warns me very severely that I cannot do green screening, you know, background, and then I try it and it really is a mess. And that would be also something I think a few people need advice on, because I've seen quite a few people think they think their background is working and it doesn't look good, you know.
You need a very contrasting plain background behind you. For example, where you're sitting with all that, sorry for the word, but clutter in the background, visual clutter, it doesn't know what to focus on. So it might bring in the teddy bear's face and leave yours out for a second and things like that.
Yeah, there's a big debate on that, because I was in television for a long time, and we, want to definitely have that it excludes a particular color, and that's why you should really have one complete color in the back, and that's why it's green. But I've found that whatever I do, it won't really work. The computer's got to have quite a powerful rendition
graphics
ability.
Card. A powerful graphics card, yeah.
Well, it must be. I think, mine isn't quite up to that. But it is something I'm not really using. I try it out a little bit, but it doesn't seem to work on any transmission. And it'd be interesting to see what we need, because we're going to carry on having a lot of meetings via Zoom, I think, even after lockdown finishes. But that would be great if the two of you could do that. I think this meeting's been great, and if we could go on and do one on presentation, it really would be very valuable for everybody. really would. So thank you from my side, really. Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback, Ross.
A pleasure.
Hi, Mayubula. Just
Hello.
to pick up how, I'm sure you've already touched on this one, but on the presentation, how can we get information on when maybe you might be ready to have the next training on presentation? I particularly am interested in the short clip that you just showed us of the presentation that you did. I think that will come in very handy in effective presentation in our meetings, as well as just holding virtual trainings. So I'm very interested in that as well. I don't know if it's something we're going to delve into a little bit in this meeting, or when next can we expect to have the training?
Well, thank you for that. You'll have to ask Anka. Anka will have to literally twist my arm. No, I'm just joking. So Anka will basically have to advise. And, you know, whenever you guys are basically ready, you know, I'm ready as well. And I'm more than willing to actually, like, you know, share this with you, because there are a couple of people as well here on the Namibian side who say they also want to see how it's done. I presented it once to my club. I will definitely do it again. So if you guys can pick a date and time, you know, communicate with Anka, and, you know, she'll get in touch with me. Let's make things happen.
Cool. There's one thing I want to just add that I would maybe bring in at another stage if we do another one of these, is that I actually did the registration for this meeting using Google Forms instead of using the registration functionality of Zoom. And how I managed that was I created a normal meeting in Zoom that has an ID and a passcode, and then I copied that information. And what I did was, with the Google form, I put an additional plugin in that does form notifications. And I told it that for every person who completes that form, email them this. And then I pasted in the invite to the Zoom. So then what happened, every single time someone filled in one of those forms, they got an email from me immediately telling them what the details were for the Zoom. So yeah, that's another way to do it if you don't have a paid account, but you still want to do registration for an event.
Yes, very clever indeed. It's a very creative solution, a very creative workaround. I like it.
I like your comment, Kenewe. We're going to come out IT specialists. Absolutely. Yes. It's the way the world is going.
And also, guys, please note that, you know, if there are any other questions that you have with regards to Zoom, you know, please send them, you know, forward them through to Anka. As I mentioned at the beginning, even though I use Zoom quite often, there's certain things that I don't use all the time. And, you know, so there's certain things that, you know, one might have a bit of an oversight on. But between the two of us, if we don't know what the answers are, we will find the information for you. Oh, yes, speaking of which, there's one other thing I would like to quickly just show you guys. I mean, just if you're in a meeting and you then need to start looking at your security settings, there's a button here that says security. This is very important, because if you're not the person who set up the meeting, there will be instances where you will not know whether the person has allowed screen sharing and so on and so forth. One of the things that these guys who bomb meetings do is that they end up sharing their screen. So if someone with a paid account has set up the meeting for you, you come in, you're the host, always make sure that here where it says share screen, remove that tick from there, so that people cannot share their screen without your permission as the host, okay? And another thing to also note again as well is that when it comes to chat as well, there have been instances where we have had predators who are sending inappropriate messages to different members within to different meeting attendees. So to protect yourselves, this is another thing that you might also want to disable in certain instances. Remove the ability for people, the ability for people to chat if you suspect you could have someone in the meeting that, you know, might send inappropriate messages to other people. Yeah.
And also, if you've taken away that ability of participants to share the screen, the way to allow, if someone's going to be a speaker and they need to share their screen for whatever reason, is you open up the participants pane and you go to more options and you make them a co-host temporarily. That's the simplest way to do that.
Yes.
And then you revoke those rights again once they've finished speaking.
That's correct. So when you right click, you would see the option that Anka's just mentioned amongst these options over here. But currently, as you can see, I'm the co-host, which is why, yeah. So thank you.
Mike, I quickly want to share or ask something. In one of the meetings, they had a question and answer tab next to chat. I think they were also trying to sort of prevent people from sending their comments. Are you able to do that, or how did they get it right?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Or is it only for the host, the question and answer tab? Is it only for the host eyes, or what?
I believe it is. I've never actually used it myself. Let me quickly share my screen. And then let's see if we can find the setting for that actually. So let's say share. So over here, let me just quickly just go to my meetings. Okay, so let's quickly go to settings right here. So under Zoom here, we have the settings tab. Let's quickly go through these settings over here very quickly. This was something we never actually even got a chance to go through because I thought it might be, I didn't want you guys to continue looking at this white screen continually. So let's see.
There's you're looking for non-verbal feedback. It's in the in-meeting basics section.
There we go.
A little bit down. It's just below remote control. A bit further down.
What? We passed it now. Let's continue. Still coming.
And there
it is. And there we go.
That's the only thing I can find. But I think that there's actually a Q&A function if you do a webinar type of Zoom, which you can also only do with a paid account, which is a whole different story. I think that's the Q&A.
Okay. And I don't have the webinar option, so therefore that wouldn't apply to me. So I wouldn't see that setting over here. However, one other thing to note, if I'm not mistaken, if we look here at, again, plans and pricing, one of the things that I remember they mentioned, although I'm not sure if it's still valid, is the fact that if you want to host a webinar, say for example, like right now I'm on this plan over here, they have the ability for you to pay specifically for one webinar, for example. And then because you pay that amount, then you then get all of these webinar features for that particular webinar without you having to subscribe continuously. So I would have to do more research on that.
At the bottom right, it says bundle discounts on webinars and Zoom rooms, and it's got a contact sales button on the right-hand side.
The right-hand side.
Go to the top. So it looks like the fourth plan, but it's actually, it says enterprise. And there it mentions bundle discounts on webinars and Zoom rooms, which is another thing as well. That might only be available at enterprise level.
And then this would just be an additional $5 US on top of what one would be paying over there. Very nice. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Okay, so this is then starting at 100 hosts for your, oh my goodness. Okay, look at that price. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. No, thank you for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no other questions, I guess we can wrap up the meeting. I'm still available. I just don't want to hold people hostage.
Cool.
And I know that sometimes, people will be polite and, you wouldn't say, okay, can we please leave?
So Mike and Anka, what are the takeaways? You will send us some materials on this presentation?
That's right. So I'll be sending you the recording of this meeting along with a step-by-step breakout rooms instructions.
Okay.
Along with instructions with how to do Google form registrations if you're using an unpaid account. I think that's everything. If I find any other more useful resources, I'll add them in there. But what I will do is I'll also add everyone who was on this call to the mailing list for future trainings.
So it won't include Michael's presentation that he did to his club using Prezi?
Michael, I don't think...
in fact, let me send, I can share that link. I can share that link, or did I record it? If I made a recording of that presentation, I will definitely send it through to Anka. If I didn't record it, when we have our own meeting, we can then record that one.
All right.
Okay, cool. Yes. I'll get that from you then if you've got it. Thank you.
And we all have our mailing information on our registration.
Correct. So as long as you filled in a form to register for this training, I've got your email address.
Thank you so very much. Have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you. Cheers.